I want to start on the topic of Palestine and recognising it as a state. Are you pleased to see the Prime Minister of Canada follow Britain's suit?
I just think if the moment you look at the small print on this, it starts to fall apart, right? That if our country or any other country is saying that we'll recognise Palestine if Hamas isn't part of that settlement, then it just isn't going to happen. You know that Hamas are not about to lay down their weapons. They're not about to go quietly into the night. You look at the statements that they were making online and elsewhere yesterday and the day before yesterday. They were saying victory is within sight. So if that's the condition, this isn't going to happen. It's just chat.
Talk to me about the letter that was sent yesterday and you were a signatory on, relating to the situation in Epping, which is near your constituency.
Yeah, I've written to the Home Secretary, I think, 3 times in the past few weeks. Epping, the Bell Hotel in Epping, where there's been lots of protests about the migrants housed there, isn't in my constituency, but it's next door, and I have a migrant hotel in my own patch, and I'm very keen to meet with the Home Secretary to ask her to to close down these hotels in our areas, following the huge state of public unhappiness and following an alleged assault by one of the residents. And I'm sorry to say I haven't yet heard from the Home Secretary, but we're pressing for her to come and talk to local representatives.
Is this a little bit of MP NIMBYism?
No, not at all. And I don't think I would support any MP who didn't want a migrant hotel in a heavily built up area, which is on the tube line, on a high street, where single young men who've crossed the channel are particularly ones that have potentially committed crime. So it's not NIMBYism. It's that when Labour came to power, they told us that they were going to stop using hotels for migrants, and that simply hasn't happened. They've failed in that, and they now need to come forward and explain what they're going to do.
I guess hotels we should mention, of course, that were opened in large part during the last government. Talk to me about the retirement issue you're flagging today.
Yeah, so some analysis that the Conservative Party's done has shown that over the next few years, because of frozen thresholds, a lot of people who claim the state pension will have to start paying income tax on some of their pension, and that really is sort of symptomatic of the fact that we now have a Labour government that is steadily putting up everybody's taxes in a kind of doom loop. That because of Rachel Reeves's budget last year, we've seen about, I think it's 170,000 jobs get sucked out of the economy, seen business confidence collapse, we've seen a lot of businesses close, and we know that in the autumn, the government is planning to put up tax again. This is one element of that. But when that happens, we will see more money be sucked out of the economy, and we'll see growth slow down even further, and that will make all of us feel poorer.
I have to say, I feel like you've invented a talking point here. I mean, the headline of your press release today that you've just addressed, you've framed it as fact, as if it's already happened, but in your answer there. But it says, the Conservatives are sounding the alarm over Labour's retirement tax, which is now just 614 days away from coming into effect. Just 614 days. It feels like...
Wilfred,
hold on, I'm not finished. Forgive me. Forgive me. Excuse me. Forgive me, Mr. Burghart.
Can I just come back on what you just said?
No, you can't. You can come in a moment. We'll give you time to respond. The next line of this press release says, with Rachel Reeves widely expected to extend the income tax threshold. She hasn't done that yet. We don't even have a date for the autumn statement yet. And you've manufactured an entire talking point. Excuse me, I'll give you a chance to answer in just a second. I will give you an answer.
If you don't want me to speak, I won't speak.
Good, let me finish, and then you can answer. You have manufactured a talking point, which you framed in your first answer as already happened, with a hypothetical thing that the government might do. And even if they do it, it won't come into effect for 614 days.
So, Wilfred, you know very well that what's going to happen when Parliament gets back in September is very soon afterwards, there will be a budget. And at that budget, the Chancellor will have to make decisions which will affect the following 12 months, and some decisions will last a lot longer than that. So we are sounding the alarm about something that the Chancellor is going to have to take action on in the next few months. And if she doesn't, it will affect pensioners. And that's not so. And it's not true to say. I said it's already happened. I said it's something that's coming down the track, and we're perfectly entitled to do this. To tell you let me speak now. You're perfectly entitled to tell pensioners that unless the Chancellor changes course, that she will be bringing them into income tax for the first time.
Do you know that she is going to freeze those thresholds?
We asked the Prime Minister to rule it out at Prime Minister's questions the other day, and he declined to do so. So we know that it's something that they're considering.
Right, which is not definitively happening. And that, by the way, was a non-answer from the Prime Minister, not a definitive answer from the Chancellor.
The Prime Minister has refused to rule it out, so we know they're considering it, and we are asking them to change course. That is exactly what oppositions are supposed to do. I don't know why you find it so hard to understand that.
So, that part will be fine, but you are therefore accepting this is a purely hypothetical point.
No, it's not purely hypothetical. We know that it is something that is under consideration by the government. It's not something that we've made up. It's something that we know the government is considering, and that's why we are sounding the alarm about it.
I'll reread the first line. The Conservatives are sounding the alarm over Labour's retirement tax, which is just 614 days away from coming into effect.
Does not change course. That is what will happen. If the Chancellor doesn't announce that she is changing thresholds, it is what will happen. It is the default setting on what will happen.
It's hypothetical. I think you're proving that,
no, it's not
that yourself.
Those thresholds are not automatically raised. If the Chancellor does not act, the tax will be imposed upon people. She has to act. It's not hypothetical. It is the default setting on what will happen unless she makes an announcement at the budget.
She said in the last statement that she was raising them, so it would be a change to reverse that.
And then we subsequently asked the Prime Minister whether he was considering, whether he would rule out the change, and he refused to do so. That's why this is a story, and that's why we need to sound the alarm. That's why we need to let your viewers know about it.
And that's why you are acknowledging that that decision has not yet been made by the Chancellor. Look, I'm all for criticising when politicians of both sides don't answer questions.
Down a rabbit hole unnecessarily. I think it's very clear that the Chancellor is considering something that would be damaging to pensioners in my constituency and to constituencies across the country. That's why we put this news story out there today, and that's why we're discussing it on your show.
Indeed we are. And let's move on to wrap up with a final question that I asked the government as well about, based on comments from Jonathan Brearley, the Ofgem head, who said earlier that it's now time, in his view, to at least ask the question whether or not we can allocate costs, that's people's energy costs, more progressively. Do you think that energy costs should be considered in a means-tested way?
I mean, to a certain extent, we've always had special dispensation for the poorest people in society. But if he's recommending, I haven't seen his remarks, but if he's suggesting that there should be a sliding scale all the way up the income distribution, I don't think that would be the correct way of charging for a commodity. No.
Alex Burghart, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Wilfred. Thanks for having me on.